Welcome, everyone, to the second East-West Dialogue on Climate and Justice. My name is David Blockstein. I'm the co-director of Solve Climate by 2030, a program of the Bard College in New York. This discussion with Acharya Prashant of the Prashant Advait Foundation of India is part of our worldwide teach-in on climate and justice. Acharya Prashant is a powerful voice of socio-spiritual awakening in today's world. He is an acclaimed Vedanta exegete and author of over 80 books, including the national bestseller, Karma, Why Everything You Know About It Is Wrong. An alumnus of IIT Delhi, IIM Ahmedabad, and a former civil services officer, he is an exponent of pure Vedantic wisdom, a vocal warrior against superstition and inner weakness, a promulgator of pure spiritual veganism, and an expounder of essential human freedom. This discussion today is a follow-up to a conversation between Acharya Prashant and my colleague, Dr. Eben Goodstein, Director of Bard's Graduate Programs in Sustainability and Director of Solve Climate by 2030. That conversation, recorded in April of 2023, is available on the Acharya Prashant YouTube channel. Today, Acharya will respond to questions from students around the world, including participants in Bard's internship in social media for climate activism. I'm delighted to welcome Acharya Prashant and our student participants. We thank you all for being with us today. In a moment, I will be turning it over to my friend and colleague, Anupam Chatterjee of the Prashant Advait Foundation, who will be moderating the question and answer session. But I'd like to begin with the question myself, which is that in this discussion between yourself and my colleague Eben, you talked from a very deep spiritual perspective and the need for personal transformation. But yet, as we're looking at the climate emergency, which is on us right now, we've named our project Solve Climate by 2030 because the time is very short, as identified by the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. So how do we reconcile the need for immediate action with the need for deep personal and societal transformation that often takes longer than the time that may be available to us? So, an easy question to begin.
Yes, and thank you first of all for having this discussion. It's an easy question about a difficult situation. You said inner transformation processes are often long winding and deliver results only in the long term. So it's not really so that inner transformation will necessarily take a long time, and inordinately long time, considering that we are looking at 2030 as the threshold, as the cutoff year. You see, look at it differently. Apart from the inner transformation route, we have tried everything else. That there is a climate catastrophe upon us is not new information. We have known it since at least 4 decades now, if not more. What have we been able to do in these 4 decades? Not only has the climate crisis worsened, the rate of worsening has actually accelerated. So, we are sinking at an increasing rate of sinking per year. That's how we are doing. If that is what we are getting from our conventional routes of crisis mitigation, it surprises me how we still hold so much trust over them. We talk as if the other routes, which include legislation, regulation, and so many other things, as if those routes are tried, tested, and have delivered results beautifully till now. And we assume as if the spiritual process is untrustworthy, unreliable, and will necessarily take a long time, if at all, if it delivers any results. I'm saying, I'll repeat, keep the spiritual route aside and let's objectively, factually look at what have the other routes given us, except frustration, disappointment. Our confidence in our own methods needs to be checked, verified. And if we really test whether our confidence in our governmental processes and legal and technical processes is really well founded. Now let's come to the spiritual thing. I'm not talking mumbo jumbo, I'm not talking black magic, but it is entirely possible, and it happens, that clear communication of information in its entirety, is able to touch a person at such a deep place that he is stirred into the right kind of action. And when I'm saying the right information in a holistic way needs to reach the individual, this is hardly even spiritual in the conventional sense, When you say that a fellow is on the spiritual route, what you usually mean is that the fellow is into some kind of esoteric methods or some kind of awakening of paranormal energies is being attempted. These kinds of things. When I am saying that the spiritual route is the only route, I mean none of that rubbish, that illogical stuff. I mean simple dissemination of information in its entirety. Now there lies the catch. What do I mean by information in its entirety? You see, we often look at the climate crisis in isolation. We act as if we are otherwise all right, generally okay, and somehow, incidentally, an alien crisis has hit us for no strong reason whatsoever. So we want to treat it in a very peripheral way, as if it is a skin infection or something caused by a bacteria that has settled on the surface of the body, and the effect of that alien bacteria is only skin deep. That's the mental model we hold with respect to the climate crisis. On the other hand, what I am talking of is the right diagnosis of this crisis. Is it just an external infection on the skin of mankind? Or is it about our very blood having become toxic? Is it an influence affecting us from the outside, or is it a malaise arising from the inside? That's what I mean by the spiritual root. So it is actually very scientific, no? Right diagnosis is the prerequisite for any kind of successful treatment. Nothing per se spiritual about this statement. It's very logical. What I am proposing is for us to ponder on that climate crisis, culture, and consumer capitalism are one and the same thing, and unless all of them are treated together, the climate part just cannot be taken care of. You treat one part of this trifecta, and you will find you are not succeeding even in 100 years, as if we have 100 years, first of all. But if you can look at the bigger picture, if you can have the bird's eye view, and you realize what really is going on, then there can be a solution, and a quick solution, a powerful solution. Mankind's very soul, if you may call it, for want of a better word, you could say core, or you could simply say mind, the collective mind of humanity. That's what I mean by soul. That soul has gone sick. That needs treatment. And I'm not dealing in metaphors, needless euphemisms. No. This is the most direct way of stating it. We do not know who we are. We do not know what we are here for. Therefore, we endlessly consume. We procreate. We live meaningless lives. Because we do not know ourselves and therefore the right purpose to life, therefore we run after miscellaneous identities, power, freedom, and so much else. And all that is externally manifested as climate change. So climate change is nothing but a gross and tangible representation of what is sick in our very hearts. And if you do not treat the sickness where it really lies, there is no point giving superficial treatments. Like applying ointments to the skin. When the symptom on the skin is just representative of a problem far deeper. The good news is, this far deeper problem is actually easier to solve, because the other roots have all conclusively anyway failed. Hence, the only route remaining has to be the only easy route remaining, We don't have an option. If you don't have an option, how can you call the only available option as difficult? It has to be taken as easy because there is nothing else possible. Tell people that they need to tackle climate change and they'll be indifferent. Everybody is indifferent. Tell people that they are missing out on the essence of their own life. Then they will listen, because we all are basically selfish people. Climate crisis appears far too general, a bit too far in time, and not so severe that it cannot be negotiated. You tell the common man on the road that global temperatures will rise by an average of 2 degrees centigrade. You will not find him collapsing in shock. 2 degrees rise in mean global temperature. He will say, fine, I'll adapt. I'll get a better air conditioner. I'll take a longer vacation. Or I'll simply bear it. It doesn't matter so much. You may tell him of the other changes and drastic effects that are possible. Rising sea levels and entire cities will be threatened and ecosystems will be washed out. And the negative feedback loop, the whole thing will keep worsening. Glaciers will be gone. We do not know what will happen to aquatic ecosystems. You tell him all these things. Was he ever in the first place interested in these things? You're talking to, let's say, a 35-year-old man. In his 35 years, and I'm talking of the average man, there would be exceptions always, but let's look at the average case. In his 35 years, when has he demonstrated any ecological sensitivity? How will he suddenly become sensitive today? We will have to realize that the climate crisis is nothing but the sickness of our personality coming out in the open. For far too long has it remained concealed. But now the cat is out of the bag. And we would be just continuing our primitive tendencies of self-deception if we do not admit the climate crisis for what it really is. It is a crisis of insane consumerism. And we consume because we know nothing better to do. We consume because we have a life to live and we do not know what to do with these 70, 80 or 90 years, and average lifespans are rising across the world. People are living up to 100. Lots of them. People are living for long and have huge disposable incomes. There are so many countries that have millions of millionaires now. The USA obviously being the foremost. Millions of millionaires, so much money and so much time. The fellow is going to live for 80 years, 100 years, 110 years. What will he do? He does not know what to do with life. And every bit of action arising from ignorance is carbon intensive. If you do not have a real purpose to live for, then you will live out of your whims, tendencies, emotions. and they all have a huge carbon footprint. You do not know what to do in life, you will produce a lot of kids. I know I'm generalizing. But then the climate crisis too is a general crisis, is it not? So let's keep the exceptions aside. Let's look at the common man. And we
Yes,
talk
I'm
of...
sorry, go ahead.
I can't hear you. You said something?
I was just going to say, I mean, it's a powerful answer. And it makes me realize that the thing about the climate catastrophe that is in front of us is that it's putting those questions in front of individuals in society, and that this may be actually the opportunity to make the real shifts in who we are that we need to be making otherwise, and that we wouldn't recognize that.
So, if I may venture that far, I would say the climate crisis is challenging us to answer questions we should have answered several centuries back. You could even say it's a crisis of philosophy. It is just proving that the philosophies we have based our lives on since long are inadequate, actually false. We could not answer those questions then, and there was nothing and nobody to conclusively tell us in our face that we do not know the answers. Now we have a very, very tangible proof available, a proof of our inadequacy in the form of this crisis. So, we need the right understanding. We need to know who we are and why we exist, and that determines our economics. That determines our very lives. Is it not true, and is it not obvious that the shape of the economic structure that we have, the entire economic system of the entire world, that's what is producing the carbon in the atmosphere? We have philosophies that have no space for compassion. We do not want to look inwards. We do not want to know what should be the right relationship between man and the world he inhabits. And that's why we are living in an absolutely awkward way. Our lives are bizarre. They are bizarre, and they are producing a lot of gas. Like the fart of the cattle that's responsible for so much of the carbon concentration, that represents in a very dramatic way a picture of our lives. That can be changed. All that can be changed. People can give up flesh consumption. It takes an instant. There are people, and I know several thousands of them. Optimistically, I could say there are lakhs of them who have given up flesh consumption in a matter of days, weeks, a few months. And we very well know that flesh consumption and dairy, they are either the largest or the second largest cause of carbon concentration. and that cause can be addressed in a jiffy. Because the climate crisis is a crisis of the choices we are making. And since we are the chooser, the choices can immediately change. A lot of them. A few are structural that may take a little more of time, but there is a lot that can be immediately done if we can show the total picture to the human being. And the total picture must include his own face. If the climate crisis remains something outside of ourselves, we will not be too interested in tackling it. It is a crisis inside of us, not outside of us. If it is shown to be a crisis inside of us, I know I'm repeating these ideas, but I think I need to, so I'm taking that liberty. I hope you'll pardon. It's a crisis inside of us. And when we see that it's a crisis inside of us, we'll be more interested in tackling it. Because as we said, we are all selfish people. Let's use that selfishness constructively.
Yeah, well, thank you. It's a powerful answer, and one that I think we all do well to heed. We have students who've been also thinking and have questions that are also powerful questions. So I think we should yield to them to ask some questions that will, I think, enlighten all of us. So Anupam, do you want to call on the first student, please?
Yes, definitely.
Sure, David. Thank you.